All right, welcome back. So on deck today is going to be a follow-up video to the previous video on the Gold Dot G2. We got a couple things we want to test out in today's video. First and foremost, we have the actual FBI heavy clothing kit from Clear Ballistics instead of our usual 4 layers of denim. Now the 4 layers of denim, as I mentioned in that test, is not the FBI protocol. That is in fact the IWBA protocol, and I really honestly can't find too much data on the G2 Gold Dot through 4 layers of denim. Most of what I've seen is all the FBI heavy clothing tests. So as stated in there, it's entirely possible that Spear maybe didn't even test this against 4 layers of denim, wasn't even a part of the design. So that's kind of what we want to find out. We want to see, since it struggled in that 4 layer of denim test, how it performs through the actual heavy clothing barrier. In addition to that, we had some issue with our water jugs. So we were using these clear water jugs for the first time, and it appeared that something was off in terms of this plastic and how it was affecting penetration depth. So our normal 5-inch thick 1 gallon water jugs are getting harder to find at a reasonable price. So I'm looking to maybe augment that or supplement that with these water jugs. It's the same type of plastic, or so it feels, but these are 6 inches thick. So we added a half gallon here in front to make the overall depth of penetration the same as if we were trying to shoot through roughly 4 of our normal 5-inch thick jugs. So this is a couple inches more, I believe 22 inches or so compared to 20 inches, but should be close enough that if it's the same layers of plastic or same number of layers, and overall about the same depth. So what we want to do is we're going to do first our test in these clear jugs just to see if we get that off penetration depth we saw before. Hopefully we'll get expansion, and then we will shoot our normal 1 gallon water jugs so we can kind of compare and contrast that to see, are we actually getting some skewed penetration results using these clear jugs. And then we'll try our alternate jugs. That's probably going to end up being what we use in the future, if that corresponds accordingly or matches things up. We'll find out. So again, the FBI heavy clothing barrier is not 4 layers of denim, and this is the actual clothing barrier. You can Google it and find out exactly what it is. Again, this is available from Clear Ballistics. So we're going to go ahead and use the Glock 26, since the shorter barrel is what gave us more issue than the longer barrel, although even with the longer barrel we're never really 100%. And if everything goes all right, we're also going to go ahead and follow up with this Ranger 9mm 147 grain plus P service bonded. We did a video on this previously and it did well in the 4-inch or longer barrel, even through 4 layers of denim. However, for the G26, we got partial expansion through 4 layers of denim. So we'll see if this heavy clothing, FBI spec heavy clothing barrier presents more or less of a challenge in 4 layers of denim. From my understanding, it should be less of a challenge. So we'll see how these rounds perform through that. Right, first up will be our clear jugs and the Gold Dot G2. All right, let's check it out. So we obviously got expansion. You'll notice these jugs do not explode like you're going to see, obviously, we've seen in the past with these others, which leads me to believe this plastic is different. But we'll find out. I'll be curious to see. So we got penetration through 3 into 4. I don't feel anything on the back of 4, and honestly, I don't know if these jugs will leave a telltale dent like we normally get, which is another thing I don't like about this, because we don't know if we just barely made it into 4 and didn't even make it to back 3. Really, there's no way to tell. So let me go ahead and dig it out of there, though, and see what it looks like. And there it is. It's fully expanded now. The petals did not necessarily peel back all the way along the bullet shank, which is not necessarily a bad thing. That gives you a slightly larger diameter for a better crush cavity. Keep in mind, this is a G26, so this is a shorter barrel than you're typically going to see on your duty weapons, so a little less velocity, but it's, at least initially, appears that this heavy clothing barrier is presenting less of a challenge, because if you remember, we either got no expansion or just very little, or the beginnings of expansion. So in this case, the petals are mostly peeled all the way back. So we're going to go ahead and put this through our standard water jugs that we've had better results matching up and replicating the 1.5 times penetration we typically see in those types of jugs compared to ordnance gel. And we'll see if Spear's literature matches up, because this while it did make it into the 4th jug, it looked like it just barely got in there. So that doesn't really match up with the penetration depths that we should be seeing, but we'll find out. So let's go ahead and give that a whirl. All right, this will be through our standard 5-inch jugs that we're used to. So let's see if this all shakes out. All right. And as you can see, we obviously got expansion. You can just tell by how destroyed the jug is. And again, this plastic definitely reacts differently. So we got 1, 2, 3 in the 4. We have a big crack on the back of 4 and a large dent on 5. So we're looking probably, if we do our 1.5 time, we're real close to the 14 inches, maybe slightly more, but right at about 14 inches is what I would expect to see. And that lines up really well with Spear's literature. So let me go ahead and dig it out and see what it looks like. And there it is, and it looks textbook, pretty much like out of a brochure. So it's even possible, but we'll do this again with our other jugs. It might be possible that even that plastic somewhat affects expansion a little bit. I don't really think so, but at any rate, it doesn't matter. The round's perfectly expanded, which we never got when we fired through the 4 layers of denim. So again, clearly the FBI heavy clothing barrier is not as stringent, and the penetration depth was spot on what I would have expected to have seen, which was basically a large dent crack on the back of 4 and jug 5. And that puts us probably right at about 14 inches of penetration or so, which lines up really well with Spear's literature. So let's go ahead and try our alternate jugs and see how that stacks up to what we just saw here. This will be our alternate setup. Hopefully this works. And let's go check that out. And initially looking at this, we had 4 of these jugs plus our half gallon. So we actually only wanted 3 jugs was the same with that half gallon as 4 of the original 5-inch, and we had virtually the same results. Nothing made it in the 5, but we do have a crack on 5. Or I'm sorry, jug 4. Technically it'd be jug 4, which gives us roughly the same overall penetration. So again, that lines up really well. Spear's literature usually lists around 15 inches for the heavy clothing and the G2 gold dot, and we look like we're right there because we're cracking that extra jug. So that lines up really well. Nice consistent results. I'll go ahead and dig it out. And there it is. Again, we see 2 of the petals not quite peeled back all the way against the shank. However, again, that's going to lead to a larger, or actually 3. Well, no, 2. Yeah, 2. It's going to lead to a slightly larger recovered diameter, but again, when this is being fired out of the shorter barrel G26, but as you can see, again, that's definitely good performance. So, okay, let's go ahead and hit that Ranger bonded up through our alternate jugs to see how that performs against the heavy clothing, since in the actual test we did out of the G26 against 4 layers of denim, it did show partial expansion, but not full expansion like you'd like to see. So let's see if the same thing rings true for that bonded 147 grain Ranger. All right, and this will be the 147 grain plus P Ranger service bonded. Let's go take a look. And there it is. It is fully expanded symmetrically anyway, though it could have peeled back farther, I think, with higher velocity. We penetrated through all 5 of our 1-gallon jugs, including our half-gallon jugs, so that puts us around 28 inches of penetration in these water jugs, that's going to be real close, or right at that 18-inch mark. So this would have basically penetrated the full depth allowable. It might have gone over maybe slightly, I'm not sure, but it would have been really close. But what we do see is it's symmetrically expanded all the way around, and yes, with higher velocity out of a longer barrel, we would have probably saw a little greater expansion, less penetration, like we saw in the test prior. But overall, is this the best choice from a short barrel gun? Probably not. But is it a poor choice? No, you're still getting symmetrical expansion and good penetration. So let's go ahead and take this back to tailgate and wrap it up. Okay, so what's some final takeaways from this? Well, first of all, the 4 layers of denim, as I had alluded to in the previous videos, is not the FBI protocol, and as you can see, that really did change the way these rounds performed. The Spear Gold Dot G2 from the 3.5 inch G26 performed quite well. You can see that while it's not the projectiles aren't fully peeled back against the shank, they are nicely expanded and rather large. And just to be thorough, I went ahead off camera and fired 2 from the 4.5 inch, would be a G17 length, and they look exactly like the brochure says they should. So again, that shows how barrel length can affect your performance, though in this case, this performance would have been fine regardless. But definitely this round easily passes the heavy clothing test, the heavy clothing barrier as laid out by the FBI, particularly from a duty gun. Has no issue with that whatsoever. So I have no reason to doubt Speer's literature as I've seen it. I will talk to them about the 4-layer addendum test and find out maybe this wasn't even taken into consideration when designing this, because this is marketed as a law enforcement duty round, and it's going to go through the actual FBI protocols and not the 4-layer addendum IWBA. In our Ranger Bonded Plus P, we had similar results. We had full expansion even out of the G26. I went ahead and put 2 extra rounds after off camera just to be thorough, and they both additionally expanded. They actually expanded larger than our very first shot, but nonetheless, all of them are fully symmetrically expanded. And it just goes to show that in the heavy clothing test, as laid out by the FBI, these rounds are good to go. Additionally, I didn't fire through a G17 length barrel on any of these. We can already summarize that based on the testing we did prior, where we got good results through 4 layers of denim when we used a 4-inch or longer barrel, and we're getting decent enough results from our 3.5 inch that you're going to be fine with the longer barrels. So there you go, guys. Goldot's G2 does appear to be good to go. It's my understanding that this round was also recently adopted by LAPD for their officers carrying 9mm. And it's my understanding that this 147 grain 9mm plus P service bonded Ranger is a contract overrun from the U.S. Marshals Service. I know not too long ago the Marshals Service SOG, their Special Operations Group, I guess is what they call it. I'm not even sure if that's what it stands for. But anyway, it's their TAC team, if you would, that goes after the most dangerous and wanted out there. Fairly recently switched from 45 to 9mm. So I'm assuming that this is probably went along with that switch. So it does look like they have some pretty good duty ammo. So, all right, guys. If you like this kind of content and you haven't already done so, please like and subscribe. Share the video. It helps the channel out. As always, comment down below. Let me know what you guys think about all this. But as always, please keep those comments professional. And Epstein didn't kill himself.